Well, hello and welcome. You are now listening and perhaps watching the Spark Your Creative podcast, and I am your host, Sharon Burton, with Spark Your Creative Coaching. And I am happy that you have joined me today or tonight or afternoon, whatever time you're listening or watching, for this next episode. I am continuing my interviews with some wonderful creative people. A few I've just met actually within the last 6 months to a year. And I'm so excited to have them because, when I really connect with people, I really would like to have them share their stories with us. And I think that if I am enlightened and motivated and inspired by these people, I think that you will too. And we're continuing our series focusing on creatives over 40 and finding your flow and hearing from different people. My podcast is about just your everyday people doing some extraordinary things. So as much as I love some celebrities, and we've had a few come and go, I think that a lot of people can really get a lot from people just like themselves that may not have, all the money and fame that other people have, but they are actually pretty popular in their own right. So that's why I have curated a nice group of people for this series, and I'm very thrilled to have them. One of which some of you probably know if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram. This is a special year for me. It's double nickels. I'm not afraid to say it, not afraid to say it, not afraid to say it. So one of the things that I wanted to do this year, I have never traveled internationally. And so I did with my publisher, actually. Shout out to Swiner Publishing and Nicole and Rick Swiner. And I went to Cabo, Mexico. And the interesting thing is I had no idea what to expect. I did not really talk to Nicole that much about who would be coming. And I'm like, okay, will there be anybody like me? I was going solo. And, as a creative person, I was wondering, I hope that there's some artists or poets or some people that are there. And lo and behold, I was overwhelmed by two or three of the guests, and we really all hit it off very well. And one of the most interesting things for me is I observe people. I'm more of an introvert, so I kind of sit back and watch people, and I learn a lot from people. And I learned about just watching the women that were at this event, and we had a few gentlemen, but mostly women. And the thing that I really liked was the fact that the women showed up bold and strong. And, it just really motivated me and was like, okay, we might have to go into this new year a little more bolder, a little more stronger. And one of those people that I truly admired is a guest with me today. We have NakitaJay Poet, and she is from she's currently living in the Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina area, which is one of my favorite areas in the world. I have a much love for it. I went to college not far from there, and there's a whole nother story with that. But anyway, so I'm going to share a little bit about her. NakitaJay Poet was born in Kinterbish, Alabama, and relocated to Eastern North Carolina at the age of 6. She began writing poetry around the age of 9, which was around the same age that I first started writing. A World in Tune was her first poem written in grade school. And I'm amazed that she remembers her first poem. I was like, that's a serious poet right now. She even remembered what she wrote. I don't even know what my first thing was. But anyway, she wrote this in grade school, and she won first place in a contest. And from this experience, her love of the arts was born. For many years, she has written about all kinds of subjects. After obtaining a bachelor's and master's degree in business administration, she had the opportunity to discover her talents even more. In 2010, she became the co-organizer of the Mahogany Experience Writing Group. That sounds so interesting, formed by Kimberly Albritton. A group collection was written entitled The Mahogany Experience, Soulful Expressions. And from this experience, many connections were made, and NakitaJay started to focus more on cultivating her craft. Fast forward to 2018, NakitaJay has been in several local poetry showcases in the Raleigh, Durham area, 2 plays produced by Black Poetry Theater, and has traveled to several states performing in poetry showcases. I was jealous of that because I said, I want to do that. Recent projects include, yeah, that's true. Recent projects include a book of quotes entitled Life and I, quote, co-authored with Church the Poet, and the launch of Poetic Divas LLC, a poetry collaborative effort with Miss Dahlia 22 that features a podcast streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. As Poetic Divas, NakitaJay works to encourage the use of poetry and creativity as a form of healing, growth, and expression. In addition, she is the founder of GotYouInTheScope Photography, which I thought was interesting, specializing in headshots, boudoir shots, woo woo, ooh la la, and other photography needs. I might have to talk to you about that, girl. She is also a Bedroom Kandi Independent consultant. Y'all know Kandi from Real Housewives of Atlanta. And what was it, Escape? Or what was the band she was in?
It was Escape. Mm-hmm.
Escape. Okay, all right. Score 1 for the older lady here. Well, I'm Gen X, so if you tell me music from Gen X, I can remember. And that company specializes in adult intimate items, bath and body, and makeup. NakitaJay has completed training at North Carolina State University as a life coach. I didn't know that until I read this, and is currently accepting clients. Our topic today is about how she stays creative as a person over 40. So I just want to present to everyone NakitaJay to the mic. Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
We had an amazing time in Cabo, first of all.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
It was a blessing. It really blessed me. And, speaking on the topic of how to stay creative after 40, go on adventures. Try something new.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And not only, because some people, it's interesting because I know a lot of my peers travel a lot, and then there's this other half that doesn't do a lot of that. Okay. And, it's sort of interesting to see how the ones that are really more adventurous, how they show up in their lives. They're full, whether they're married, single, or in between, they really show up. And as creatives, and one of the things that I'm always looking for as a creative over 40 is, who are my mentors? Who are people? And I'm not talking about, celebrities per se, but just everyday people. And like I said, when I saw you and the other ladies and how they just, y'all just had fun. We were on a yacht party, and there's a lot of things, but we're not going to tell you all that because you have to sign up for New Year, New You, Cabo 24, which is, I think the dates have just dropped, and it's going to be early February, correct?
That is correct.
And if you follow Real Doc Swiner on Instagram, or you just Google her, there is information that will be coming out in a couple of months on how to join us for that very highly curated experience. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about NakitaJay's journey. And How about you share a little bit about that? You know, you talked about in your bio that you started your writing about the same time I did. I didn't call mine poems. I was actually calling them song lyrics. And I
Ooh.
could actually hear the whole song in my head, the instruments and everything. Never played an instrument. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I just went that direction. But anyway, but I wrote a lot at that time. So share how that started, and then, you know, not every little bit, but just how you really just grew into the poetry thing.
So I grew up as an only child, even though I had siblings. My mother had a child before she married my father, and my father had other children as well. But I grew up in the house by myself. So to entertain myself, I would write, I would create, I would have very vivid dreams. I had two imaginary friends. One was kind of just, quiet and tender, and the other one was real, saucy. So it kind of showcased the two sides of me. And honestly, I just would write and create. I remember I had a typewriter. So I would literally just type stories and just really enjoyed it. And when I was younger, I was homeschooled for a little while. So it just allowed me to have a lot of introspective time, I would say alone. And then I created my entertainment, honestly. So
Mhm.
that I got into it, I would say. And the way that I've grown into it is I found it is a way of catharsis. It's helped me deal with a lot of ups and downs in life, per se. Um, and honestly, sometimes you don't want to talk about things. So you should write them out. And then when you're ready to share, there. But yeah, that's basically how it all started.
Okay. And you know, as you moved forward in your life and you know had a variety of life adventures, what has kept you going with it? You know, because some people are like, oh, I used to do that years ago, but you know, life took over and I don't do it anymore. Now I want to try to do it. But I find that, you know, just looking at your bio, you've kind of been kind of moving forward with your craft. You know, you co-founded a writing group, you published, and you kind of kept it going. What kept you going? What made you continue and not give up from, you know, doing your poetry?
I would say that there was maybe like a small gap in time where I wasn't as active with my writing. Maybe the teenage years up until maybe like 20. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
After that, I had my daughter. And then, that brings about another type of experience in life when you start to have children. And I was married, I was divorced. And the way that I've kind of held on to it is I found solace in it when I was
Mm-hmm.
doing. And honestly, a lot of the poems that I did in my early 20s, they would probably be considered sad or depressing. And I'll never forget, I was reading some of my poems to someone, and they was like, wow, you really should keep writing. And I was like, I think I will. But it still didn't really catch fire until, let me see, my daughter was, I would say in 2008 when I moved to this area, because
Mm-hmm.
where I was living, the poetry and arts wasn't, I guess, as accessible. It wasn't the thing. So when I came to a more culturally accepting and creative region, I would say, I was like, ooh, wow. Started going to open mic. I started meeting like-minded individuals. So one thing I would also add is that if you want to be creative, be around creatives. Go,
Yes.
you have to get outside of your comfort zone. Go to an open mic and just feel your way, and things will start to feel natural as you go through that process.
Cool, cool. So, you talked a few things, and I like the way you've been dropping gems all along. I like the way you didn't travel and be around some creative people. And it's funny because that's what happened when I went to Cabo. I ended up with the creative people. And I mean, everybody was creative in their own way. They may not have been, poets or artists, but I really just found myself really, listening and just taking in the energy of these women, including Nakita. What would you say are the challenges in maintaining your creative, progress and your practice as a poet? I know that your children or your daughter's older, so, it's not so much of the daycare and, shifting and trying to get to the kid and do your work and this, that, and the other. But it's still, life is hectic, and especially post-pandemic. I don't know about you, but it's a whole different world, and it may be quote unquote back to normal, but it's not. There's a lot more challenges, I think. Especially as far as your peace of mind is concerned. But what would you say are some of the challenges that you face maintaining your creative practice? And secondly, what do you do to stay inspired?
I would say that the time constraints, and just having the ability to, when that inspiration comes or when those words come to mind, to be able to write it down quickly or record it somewhere. And sometimes I'm not always prepared. I get these inspirational thoughts and ideas in the most random times. But some of the challenges that I do face, and my daughter is older, but my granddaughter, I help raise her. I have a son that's 12. So I'm in this kind of a weird space. And my mother, she's older, and I help take care of her as well. So I have a very interesting dynamic going on. Honestly, there's one night a week that I dedicate usually to go to a local open mic.
Oh, I
And
love it.
knows that that's my night to go to poetry. So try to get off work on time to come get the grandbaby. My son, he knows nothing happens on this night. Mama goes poetry. My mom, even everybody knows. So that's really that really rejuvenates me. It keeps me going, honestly. So I would say to anyone who wants to be creative and trying to get that time, and life is just set you some time aside.
Yes.
That's the best way, honestly. Now,
yeah, and I just wanted to say this while it was on my head. I have a lot of clients and people that say, well, my life is crazy and I just don't have the time to carve it out. Now, you just mentioned you are part of that sandwich generation where you're taking care of mom. You have a 12-year-old at home. You have a grandbaby at home. You have your daughter. And then, your job or whatever other things you have going on. But yet you figured out one night a week is your night. And everybody, and I tell people, work with your family, work with the people around you and say, this is my day this evening, I am going to be in my little studio, whether it's a little desk, whether it is the kitchen table, but that's your time to do your thing. And everybody has to shift the best way they can to work with that. And I think that's the most important thing, because you combined it as part artist date, where you go out solo and you hang out and you connect with your fellow poets, or you just connect with the community. Maybe not necessarily, you might be sitting in the back with your little glass of wine and just writing notes and just checking it all out. You might hang out with a few people. But, that is a solo time for you. And you know that it's inspiring for you, it works for you. And I think people should really listen to that. She laid it out, all the stuff she has going on. And yet she still makes time to do this, right?
And I didn't even name everything. Oh my goodness.
I know you didn't. I know you didn't. But I mean, that's enough to know that this is a woman, that's doing it. So if she can do it, I'm just saying, she makes it happen. She makes it happen. Now there's a lot of people, including my twin sister. She was so inspired. A matter of fact, Nakita, on my other side of my life, which I don't share as much on my Spark Your Creative feeds and everything, because it's all about you and working with you. But I am a poet as well as a visual artist, which a lot of people know me more from that. But I'm a budding poet. I'm emerging. I'm an emerging poet. And one of the things that I love is poetry and doing something like a salon or something every April. And I started doing it virtually during the pandemic in 2020. I was sharing poetry every weekend. I would do this thing in April. And then I said, as things kind of got different, I said, I just want to do more of a salon where I'm inviting other people. And so Nakita was one of the poets that were an artist. I think poetry is an art too, that participated in a virtual salon with me. And in addition, my sister, I have a twin sister, and I've never really heard her talk about poetry and writing. And she just really she was like, I want to be a part. And I said, okay, because I open it up to all levels, and people really enjoy it. And so my next question is for people like her, that's like, yeah, I like this poetry thing. I want to learn. I want to write. She's over 40, we're the same age. What is your advice to people that are over 40, over 50, and they really want to start writing poetry and doing the poetry thing? What would you share with them as far as how to get started or what they need to think about?
Well, honestly, start with where you are geographically. And if you do a little Google search, you'll certainly be able to find a local open mic and start there. Once you go there, you'll start to connect with people. You'll feel the energy. It will guide you. And then go to some writing workshops. I honestly have some really influential poets, writers, and artists in the Raleigh Durham area that I really look up to. And they offer virtual writing workshops. Of course, COVID has allowed us to learn that we can do many things virtually. I do remember when I first started going to poetry in the area, everything was, of course, in person, and it was a great vibe. Everybody had an open mic. It may have been open mics every night of the week, but now, it's kind of scaled back. But I would say start, depending on where you live, do your research, find your local open mic, and just see what's out there. Be inspired and be open to learning.
Absolutely. And to add to that, I had joined a writing group, a poetry writing group, didn't know nobody. I was on this email list for a nonprofit organization, Esther Productions, that's based here in DC. And I had admired the work that they were doing because they were working with girls of color who were fatherless or don't have a relationship with their dad. And the thing that I loved about it was that they were encouraging these girls to write and to do, express themselves through art and poetry, and particularly writing. And so on
Mm-hmm.
the email, and I don't usually look at it that close, but the one email came out right in the middle of the pandemic talking about this poetry writing group. And if, we were looking for people that are interested. And I was like, okay. And I just wrote like a little kind of guerrilla kind of marketing thing of a little chapbook that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this might be kind of, so I joined them. Everyone was older than me. I think I'm one of the youngest.
Okay.
But after a while, because at first I was like, oh no, it was all virtual, and they were critiquing people's stuff. And then they would ask me, well, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm not really a poet. I'm just here, my mind was thinking that. And then
Mm-hmm.
after a while, I got the nerve to share one of my works. And the reaction was so positive. And, the critiques were not punishing or like, like, you don't know what you're doing, and it was a positive thing. And that ended up that I have 4 poems in this book that the group published. And so that's sort of part of the adventure,
Mm-hmm.
being open and getting out of your comfort zone,
Yep.
trying it. Didn't know nobody. But, they ended up being an interesting group to connect with. And, so I definitely agree with what you're saying, Nakita, and all the other things that you're doing, and that you shared with us today. So how can people learn more about you, follow you, all that wonderful stuff?
So, I go by NakitaJay Poet on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm also doing a little bit of rebranding. I've decided that because I offer a couple of different things. I offer intimacy coaching, I offer life coaching, photography, cosmetics, makeup line, lashes. I offer a lot of different things. So I said, now how can I rebrand in a way that encompasses all of the things so that someone can be like, oh, well, I need that or I need this. So I have rebranded. I'm officially Your Best Life Curator, and it's
Oh,
LC. I've launched my website, so you all can reach me there. I'm still building it, but you'll be able to find out a little bit more about what being your best life curator means. And basically, it means that I'm here to help you curate your version of your best life, whether you want to have life coaching, intimacy coaching, whether you want to learn more about my products that are available through Bedroom Kandi and Kandi Coated, whatever you need to curate your best life, I'm here to assist with that. So I thought it would be a great way to kind of bring all of the things that I like to do in one place, custom poems, all the things that I do will be under that umbrella. So you can definitely reach me at Your Best Life Curator on TikTok. And,
okay.
and my Instagram will send you to both places. For as well, it's Got You in the Scope.
All right. And we didn't even get into the multi-passionate creative thing, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's another episode. I don't know. Or we might need to just talk about that offline. But anyway, I just want to thank you, Nakita, all the way from North Carolina to join us today. And, like I said, she's part of my my squad now, my creative squad. And she's just been a delight to get to know. And the one thing I have to say, Nakita, I've had a lot of interviews, but I really enjoyed a lot of what you said, because you just sort of like naturally went into it, like, make time, and this is what I do and everything else. And that's why it's important to have people like Nakita and some of the other guests that I've had on here, because it's not about people talking out of their side of their mouth or part of a whole, spiel. This is how they live. This is how they continue to grow as creatives, as artists, as writers, and that's what you need. As a coach, I'm here to help people be able to get there. But part of my learning, as well as part of what I do, is provide a podcast so you can hear from other people. Some I may have coached, some I may not have. But they sharing their stories, and they're sharing their stories from their lived experience, not something that, oh, Sharon's a coach, so that's what she's going to say. No, these people do this.
Mhm.
I'm not talking about something that doesn't happen. This is what people do to stay creative. And so I'm hoping that, that people that are listening and watching are getting some of this stuff, and knowing that the people that I've had on this podcast are here and authentic and sharing their authentic stories. I just want to thank you, Nakita, for being here today, and for getting and just, for us to connect. I want to thank those that are watching and listening, and hopefully you're able to get something from that. And if so, please leave a comment and hit the like and subscribe button on the podcast, on SoundCloud, on YouTube. And, I will also be sharing the links and information that Nakita shared in the show notes. So you'll have a chance to connect with her and to learn more about her. And if you're in the North Carolina area, she does perform a lot of her poetry, a lot on some of the open mics, and she does a great job promoting it. So I really encourage you to check that out. And having heard her firsthand, she is excellent.
Oh,
So if you're welcome, my dear. And for those of you who want to learn more about what I do, you can also follow me on Instagram at Spark Your Creative, Facebook, Spark Your Creative, and also on YouTube, as well as my website, which is www.sparkyourcreative.com. It's a lot of exciting things coming up for Spark Your Creative. And so please stay tuned for that, but would definitely would like to hear from you. If you are in that boat, you are looking to launch, relaunch, reclaim, rediscover your creative life, and you happen to be at midlife and wondering how you can do this, or need to learn how to unblock. So feel free to reach out to me. And thank you all for continuing to support the podcasts and everything that we're doing. Take care and God bless.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.